My name is Dante Luna, and I live a life of expression. As a kid, I would bottle up my energy, and when I was in pain, I'd keep things in, and the only way to get that energy out was to draw. I would sketch and I'd doodle in class. I had some kind of outlet, and I knew right away that working on something new made me feel better. As I got older, I became obsessed with movies and television, obsessed with stories, obsessed with telling stories and hearing stories. In the 7th grade, I'd make slideshows of wrestling matches. I would take a camera. My mom got me this camera, so I would take hundreds of pictures and put them in order to tell a story. And I think that was like the beginning of me wanting to tell my own stories. As an adult, I work on stories full time. Comic conventions have become a place for me to learn, to work, and go to school. Art is still very much therapeutic to me. I need art. It's a fuel. I remember being a kid and watching movies as my way out. Now I go to these conventions and ask questions as my way in.
Where are you? How far are you in? How far are we
I
in?
am. I'm at your waist to Spencer Wilder.
Okay, cool. So you don't see me here, right?
Nope. Gone.
Right. Can you see me here?
Now I do.
No.
Yeah.
Can you go back up? So tell me when you're at. You tell me when you're
right
there.
here, at your eyes.
Right, cool.
In my last interview with you, you mentioned that it took you a while to learn how to read or write, and that was a big part of your life. To me, that's real deep. You know what I mean? Because for somebody that really enjoys expressing themselves and enjoy entertaining people, for you, to learn that later on in life. How are you reflecting on
With my dyslexia.
With the dyslexia, yeah.
Like I said on our last interview, through primary school, right? I was in Yscol Maya, like a Catholic school in Rhyl, right, North Wales. I couldn't read or write in primary school. I couldn't read or write in high school, so I took no input in. Yeah, I was the class clown. They didn't understand about dyslexia back then. They understand about it now, but I bet there's a few schools out there that are supposed to register dyslexia kids, but they probably don't. They just get pushed to the bit of a hard work, push them back. But anybody with dyslexia out there, kids, you ain't thick. You're very special.
What got me into acting was that proverbial moment where you feel like you have a moment with someone on stage. And it was in an acting class, it was in college, and I'd never done it before. I didn't do it in high school, and I just took this class that taught this technique called Meisner, and where you're asked to be in the moment, the present moment, and not have anything. And it was a moment where I started talking to this actor as a character, and I just completely forgot where I was other than in that moment. And that moment was what made me want to be an actor.
How do you feel about the influence that art has on people?
It can have a lot of power. I mean, we're telling stories, and hopefully those are stories that people connect with, on some level, on a human level. Principally to entertain, there's no question about it, and to transport you to another world. But hopefully to connect and learn something maybe about yourself through the story, through the art. Any chance I get lucky enough to be a part of something that sort of transcends just the entertainment part of it, but actually has a message that that might hit a chord, that might like you're trying to motivate people, inspire people. If it might motivate someone or inspire them, then I feel like I've been a part of something, that I don't know, it's something really beautiful that hopefully will have moved someone and it's spurred them on to do something, creative or personal.
You have dreams, like you had a dream, right? Everybody has dreams. My dad taught me that. He instilled that in me for years and years and years. And if you have a dream, go out and get it. Fortunately, I had a little setback in my life to where I was really addicted to drugs and alcohol, bad, and I almost died for years and years, and I lost everything. And there was, I didn't want to live. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted that next fix. and I didn't see a way out. I didn't know that I really needed help. Everybody else around me saw that I needed help, but I didn't want that. I wasn't accepting of that yet. And until I had like this divine intervention, and you know, people talk about their higher powers and stuff like that. God is my higher power, and he came and he said, you need help. So I got help, and I've been 10 years clean and sober. So since that time of being clean and sober of drugs and alcohol, your dreams start popping in your head, man, and you start writing stuff down, and you start attacking each one as best you can. And you might stumble a couple times, but you pick your shit up and keep going. Keep going, and what my dad always said to me is keep stepping, and I have it on my shirt here, is just keep stepping. And it sticks with me, and for anything that I do now, whether it's something like this or something with you or whatever it is, to send a message out there for children that are going through a rough time, or being in a household that's abusive, or drugs and alcohol, or anything like that, is there is a way out, and you just have to put your mind to it. You have dreams, you need to follow those dreams. You need to pick yourself up whenever you fall down and keep going and giving the best you can.
You got a whole building full of people here came in because they got a connection with some kind of art form. So how do you feel about the influence that that art has on the average person?
Each one of these people in these rooms and that are here to meet their fans are a huge influence on people's lives, and they do have a huge voice in this world. And you see it all through Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, social medias of everything, man, that somebody says something that is in the acting world or in the entertainment industry that is important, their fans latch onto it. And as long as they're talking about something good, you know, to help somebody in this world, then I'm all for it, you know what I mean? Because they do have a big influence. I have an influence on people. I have fans, maybe not billions of fans like some of these guys, but I have a large group, a large fan base. And if I can touch them in some way and be inspirational and let them know that their dreams can be achieved, whatever it is, you just try to do good. You just use common sense, try to be the best you that possibly can be, and go out there and just destroy everything, every dream that's put in front of you.
My name is Brandon Clarke, and I'm also known as the Shapeshifter. I am a cosplayer, I'm a singer, and I'm also a author of my brand new novel, The Brave and the Wicked. I've always had like a creative mind, and I've always wanted to do something like with the arts, whether that was acting or dressing up or singing or comic books, and also like, you know, growing up gay, I always had to find like an escape from the bullying and from the harassing. So that was kind of like my safe haven from the world, if you will. It felt like I was able to create my own universe and no one was able to stop me. I remember just like one of my earliest memories was X-Men. I fell in love with X-Men because I identified with them so much. Like they were these like powerful mutants that were shunned from society, and I always felt like I was like, you know, in the same way, except for the powers. I didn't have any powers, but like you know, I always felt like the X-Men were just people who were different, who were just trying to live their lives day to day, and you have people around them who would make their lives miserable. And I just felt like I could just relate to that. I think that Comic-Con or any convention is a great platform for any cosplayer or artist who's trying to, like, you know, either show off their work or just show off their art, their artistry, and you can mingle with people and meet like-minded individuals like yourself. And I think that it's amazing, because I've met throughout the years, I met a lot of amazing people like yourself and other people as well, and they have always been so warm and so welcoming. And you know, I've always felt empowered whenever I step foot in like the Comic-Con world, because I'm able to just be myself, even though I'm not myself, but like I'm able to just have that inner child like come out, and I can just be as silly and wild as I want.
Yo, we had the offense was pretty bad. Open, super bad,
All right, real quick, my first question. First, I want to get you guys to react to my friend Brandon. Can I get Brandon in here?
It's perfect though.
He did Pennywise proud.
The teeth are amazing.
Can't say that.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Where'd you get those teeth like that?
It's a great A.
Oh, no way. I don't know what.
I had to mold my mouth. And it was
Is it impossible to talk right now?
It is.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, real quick, man. You guys are really young, but you guys have a big part of Hollywood history. So how are you guys reflecting on being a part of such an important piece of horror history or movie history?
Well,
it's very surreal.
Go ahead. Yeah. Okay. I was just gonna say it's helped inspire, like it's helped us do stuff like this and go to these conventions and meet a lot of our fans, and that's just
that's
what
the
it's all
reason we
about.
have fans. Yeah.
And exactly, yeah.
It's really
And
I inspired for the movie to be a part of a movie like this, and it's dream come true. Dream come true.
Yeah, and like the movie broke records, but like the fans broke the records, not us.
Yeah,
so thank you guys for that so much.
I think it's cool just to come out to these events because, like you said, it's the fans that go out to make our movie what it is. So I'm just glad we were able to give them something that they could latch on to, and especially because it already has a fan base. If you give them something that's even, really good, they really will go for it and fight for it and see it 3, 4, 5 times. So we're blessed for that to happen.
What is the best part of the experience for you guys? Is it doing the film, or is it the interactions like this?
That's hard to choose,
right? Oh,
yeah, that's.
I say the film because before I started acting, I never visualized having fans. I wanted to act because I wanted to act. I never cared about fame. I never visualized walking the red carpet or anything. But I did care about being able to act and express myself on camera or on a stage or whatever. That's all I care about.
In it, you guys are young kids, but much like in real life, you guys are young kids. How do you deal with, just like your characters had to deal with in it, your fears in real life, especially when it comes to this acting and entertainment business?
I think it's cool. I think it's easier because we actually have a group of guys. Like, we're really blessed to have, a lot of people make movies every day, but they make their movies and they separate. But the fact that we actually loved each other and liked each other as friends, it makes it easier because now it's like, oh, we have a problem, you're not going through it alone. Yeah. So same way in the film, it's like that same message of friendship is what conquers, the hardships, because not that we're really that tough, just that we can count on each other to help us through our times.
Yeah, and that was great to be in a group of kids, is because like when we walk through this, usually people walk through it alone, and we all had to hold hand to hold through the whole thing. So
you feel safe now?
You're a man.
I want to see if I can get you to revisit the younger you. Can you tell me about your earliest experiences with expressing yourself?
Surely. I had the privilege of being raised in a fairly theatrical family. My aunt taught acting. My parents were on stage before I was born, or some professional actors in Chicago. My earliest experience was going and seeing them performing. And there was a bit of a joke in the family, which was they performed at a great theater called Theater on the Lake in Chicago, which was in the Round. Beautiful theater. But the front row was on the same level as the stage. And my mom and dad, I think, were doing Picnic or The Rainmaker, one of these great shows. And I had wandered on stage. I was 5, and I think I wandered up on stage to be with them because it was so logical, and I got a big laugh from the audience, and my mom keeps teasing me. He's like, yeah, you kind of like it here, don't you? It was just like literally I ended up crashing a play. It was one of my first kind of on-stage experiences where I wasn't supposed to be, and they brought me back to my chair, but it was, that was cute. I'm a firm believer in the function of the arts and the role it plays and how important it is. Like the ancient Greeks, believed in the purpose of theater was to inform the police around, the city, that is, and the people on how, on the state of government, on the state of, society, to raise the bar. It's where we learn how to be, and where we learn how what's important, and the checks and balances, and critical thinking. Comedy is probably one of the highest art, because it's where you can thumb your nose at the king and not get beheaded, but it's where, you look at The Simpsons, or you look at the role of the gesture, and it's, even Shakespeare, it's where, you see the power of the artist to be able to, like, not only give a, kind of a heads up to the power base and call them on their shit, but also remind the public of, you know, nothing's gonna slip by, you know. So it was that that power and intelligence, you know, not even just, I mean, let's say it's disguised as like comedy, but that was the vehicle, is such the most kind of noble and critical thing. It's like, you know, it's not just an exercise of, ooh, I just got to get this out. It's like a function of society and a foundation for, you know, early democracy.
I remember performing on stage in the school, like a Christmas musical, and people laughing and applauding, and a feeling of making people laugh and feel better was. I remember the exact moment, and I was like, "This is something I love and I want to do." And then I remember in high school doing improv and people laughing and coming up afterward and saying, you know, the idea of like making people's lives a little bit better felt really good. So, and that's what kind of set us on this course for comedy. The cool thing about TV is that it gives us a huge platform to get our stuff out there, which we never had access to before. But our first kind of like success before TV was, for like a hot second, our videos hit on YouTube. It was like our first taste of like, people, like we'd be walking down the street in Manhattan, and like somebody would come up and say, "Yo, I love your video on YouTube." I was like, "Oh my God!" Like, and they saw it, and I didn't know them. That was kind of like the first time that happened. That was pretty cool.
I was a very quiet kid in class. Everyone else was a jokers, and but I, whenever the teacher would turn around, she or he would always look at me. So I would end up getting in trouble. They would tell the joke and start the giggling and goofing around, but she would, for some reason, all through my school years, they would always look to me as the troublemaker or the guy that caused the problem. And it just, you know, and I'm telling you, it's been great. Actually, it's paid the bills, because I'm always picked, you know, for that role in the movies. Not all the time, but a lot of times.
Movies and stories had a big influence on me.
Yeah, what is your favorite movie?
Of all time, Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber? I was a big horror fan. Even though I was kind of a frightened little kid, I still like going to the horror movies, where Dracula and the Werewolf and the Mummy and Frankenstein. Those were our horror movies, sort of horror movies at the time. And then George Romero came on the scene and blew everybody away. But I don't know. I've always been attracted to those, but you know, I don't like watching them late at night. If I watch them late at night, I have to watch several cartoons before I go to sleep.
How do you feel about the influence that art has on people, that movies and stories have on people?
Brings you to another world. You know, you're like there, and you know, you can't even say you're in a dark theater anymore. The theaters, I have a lot of questions. Why are the theaters so light now? You know, I mean, it's really sucky. You go into a theater and you can see everybody. I don't want to see anybody. When I'm in the theater, I want it to be completely dark. I don't want like big light bulbs on the ground lighting into my face, and nobody should turn on their cell phones, because even when the theater does get dark, one cell phone could light up that entire theater. It's really bad, isn't it?
I think my first experience actually doing anything that would be entertainment-wise, I used to be a dancer. I used to dance in high school. You know, in California, they had a group called the Lockers. We thought we were lockers at high school. So that was my first, you know, experience of getting in front of people and performing, you know. And then when the hip hop came out, I'm old enough to remember when it came out. I remember I saw New York City Breakers on television, and being a dancer, I was intrigued. Then I was more intrigued with the rap and the DJ and then all that kind of stuff. And I just found myself, you know, very comfortable in front of people. I think people that become entertainers are usually like the class clowns. They're the people that are outspoken. They're the guys that tell the jokes and play the practical jokes on people. So it just all started to evolve and stuff, and one thing led to another. I never thought I would be an actor in a million years. It's kind of great when you actually can make a living doing something you enjoy doing. It just, I didn't never think it was going to happen. This is not what I set out to do. I was I was heavy in the streets. I thought I was going to steal, rob, and take money. You know, that's what I thought. And I just got detoured by entertainment. Like, I just started, you know, writing rhymes, and then hip-hop kind of like saved my life. It came along, and next thing you know, I figured, you know, I could rap about this lifestyle I was living. Before I knew it, I was earning an honest check. My boys was like, dude, don't go to jail, man. That's played out. Do not come to jail. And once I figured that out, I just took every opportunity that I could do that was legit. You know, and I applied myself with the same energy I use as a hustler in the streets to do negative. I just said, well, if I mash positively, I can get it without taking penitentiary chances. So anytime you see Ice-T doing something, it's just really an opportunity. Like whether it's an opportunity to do a commercial, or it's an opportunity to come to Comic Con, whatever I'm gonna do, once I make that decision, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it to the fullest and to the best of my ability, so that they might say, you can come back if you want to, you dig? I'm never gonna say yes and then half-ass nothing. I'll just tell you no.
The whole world could think you're a movie star, but you can't, you know, and you gotta be real careful with this business, because it will seduce you into thinking you're something you're not, you know, and like to me, I keep it as a job. You know, it's my job. This is my job. This is what I do. You know, I'm no different than the cameraman. I'm no different than you know, couldn't make a movie without extras, the grips, everybody. It's a team effort, and there's no I in team.
I just wanted to get your kind of tips or advice to a young person who's looking to change the direction of their life. They don't like the way it's going. They're in a low place. What can they do to change the direction?
You know, well, there's a saying that, you know, find something that you love doing and then figure out how you can get paid for it. You know, it's funny. It's like I had this friend of mine that loved working with leather, you know, and I said, well, you know, start making wallets and sell them at the beach. You know, guy's making a living, you know, so you find something that you love doing. I didn't know I loved acting. I got into it, like I said, kind of by accident, and then all of a sudden I thought, wow, this is what I've been waiting for all my life. Didn't know it, you know. So, you know, sometimes, you know, when opportunity comes knocking, you make sure you open the damn door.
I just want to take you to back earlier point in your life. What are some of your earliest memories with expressing yourself as an artist or as a human being?
They were the most powerful moments that I was able to feel in front of people, you dig? And see, the way I was brought up, they were not allowed to feel. But when you start doing it, bro, it cleans you out. The acting saved my life because I was able to do things, and even though sometimes it would look like a weak character, we're all weak in some parts of our life, you know what I'm saying? You gotta show them feelings. You can't just be a hard dude all the time. So now I'm able to laugh, I'm able to cry, but now I do it without just being an actor. I do it just immediately better doing this. And you know what? It feels so much better, you know?
Yeah, what are some of the things that some of the art that you look that you like? Some of the things that fill you up and fuel you up.
My thing is I go back to my old R&B, man. You know, I'm an R&B guy. You know, and even though sometimes it takes me to a dark place, I could always flip the record now and bring me back to a happy place. You dig? See, before the dark place, you couldn't get out. The dark house, you can't get out of that, brother. You know what I'm saying? I remember times where I was, you know, in a closet, and there was a song by War called "Deliver the Word," and I would just be slamming heroin in that closet. Think about this now. Picture this motherfucking picture. I'd be in a closed-up closet, listening to this song that was, back then we had cassette tapes, and it would just be in a loop, the song over and over again. You dig? Listening to it. It's a dark song, and just in a dark moment for like about 18 hours. You know what I'm saying? And then it's still to this day is one of my favorite songs. Watch it. It's called "Deliver the Word" by War. You gotta check it. You listen to the words, brother. It's gonna fuck you up, man.
When I first started out fighting, it was more, I got to become somebody. I became relevant. Before I was going to college, played football, and my direction went into more of the hand-to-hand combat. So for me, it was almost like from where I came from, out on the streets, fighting all the time, getting in trouble, to now actually walking in a ring and be able to fight almost the same way as if I was on the street, and they were going to pay me for it. I didn't have to worry about getting arrested or any of that stuff. So for me, it was a thrill and it was a relief that I could actually do something that made me feel good and that I was really good at, and that was no holds barred MMA. Back in the day when I did the transition from MMA into pro wrestling, it was really difficult because I know a lot of people thought I sold out, you know, why you go into that fake stuff, that's not who you are. And I remembered myself going into it, I was like, these people don't really know wrestling that much because wrestling is very difficult and also hard on your body, so it's not fake. So I thought to say, you know what, I'm going to go in, I'm going to change people's minds. So when I went into pro wrestling, everybody that was on the MMA side were all going, man, that's a sellout, you shouldn't do that. After 1 year being in pro wrestling, all those people that were saying that were saying, man, that's pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Because wrestling, in my opinion, at that time also changed with me when we came into the Attitude Era. So it was really nice to be a part of that, to be able to help bring that part of wrestling back into the fans, making it cool again. And I think that the Bret Hart, Stone Cold, Steve Austin match, the one that I refereed, really set the tone for that Attitude Era and for fans to come out of the closet and say, yeah, man, that's cool.
I didn't know I wanted to be an actor ever, but I do, now that I look back, I remember just being in my room and like acting out scenes from Star Wars and like crying and like pretend crying in my bed and like just being weird and making faces all the time. We fell in love as soon as we met.
I love you, man. I like
we
you
fell in love.
strongly.
Oh, yeah, right, Chosen. You love me.
I love you, bro.
Yeah, we love each other.
I love you too, son.
Why? Why?
It's
Did
got
you see this?
ectoplasm.
Son, what did I tell you about playing under the kitchen table?
Oh, hey, wait, go already? Forward.
Watching it in order to respect it. I think all of us, some of us didn't watch it just because we didn't want to copy it, and I watched it just to see how Jonathan Brandis did it, and especially with the stutter and all that. And obviously, it's an incredible movie, and so basically, it wasn't for research. It was just to pay respects to it. Yeah, it was definitely a very special movie for me. And obviously the outcome was crazy and people liked the movie, I guess. And but just filming it was an amazing experience because, like I said, we all loved each other, and that's rare. That's rare where you do a movie, especially with other kid actors, and you actually like them. So it was very special for all of us.
You know, I was very fortunate, man. I got to say that, you know, early on, and I'm directing more now. I just did a Fear the Walking Dead. I directed an episode of my show Longmire. I'm writing more. I'm getting back to that. But early on, when I was in high school and in college, I did a lot of writing. I did a lot of directing. I look at it as different branches of the same creative tree, you know, being a storyteller, being a communicator. It's just that acting for me took off, and those other things kind of, you know, got put off to the side for a little bit. But now I'm getting back to actually doing some writing and to getting behind the camera and to working with actors and telling stories in different ways. Like the very first play I ever did was in the 6th grade, and I co-wrote it. We basically ripped off Charles Schultz and did a takeoff on Peanuts when I was in the Philippines. And being on stage and getting a lot of laughs, man, you know, that's where the bug bit, you know. And it's like, wow, I've made people laugh, I've entertained people, I've made them happy. And then throughout high school, I grew up in Texas for the most part. We did a thing called the University Interscholastic League, and I would compete, you know, in acting, and I was winning awards. So obviously, I was getting this great support, this great feedback that I was good at this, and that is what eventually, you know, led me to believe that I could do it for a living. That, you know, I enjoyed it so much. It's something that I was really gratified doing, and it made other people happy. So I think that's the thing, you know, if you've got kids or if you yourself, you know, want to get into the industry, you want to express yourself either through acting or dance or writing or whatever it is, you need that support. You need people to encourage you and to give you a platform where you feel safe to you know, to try, because it's tough. It's a really hard business and you're going to fall on your face and there's a lot of rejection. So you have to have somebody, anybody around you to go, know what, you're good. You can do this. You can get better, and then you can soar.
How do you feel about the influence that art and the stories, you know, have on people?
You know, I think we're entering a phase in this country, thank God, where there is more representation, you know? There's more inclusion. Young people are looking up on the screens, or they're looking at their television sets, or they're buying music from people who are like them. You know, it's not just, you know, a certain group that becomes famous anymore. But with that comes a lot of responsibility, you know? You have to get a message out, you know. Some artists are, you know, I don't know, they're sort of condoning the wrong things. They're promoting the wrong things. You know, we need positive role models out there. And like it or not, if you become famous, you suddenly have a platform and people listen to what you say, you know. So hopefully we have more people taking that responsibly, doing good things with their art, being inspirational, you know, with their art, and putting very positive messages out there, you know, like education, like empowering yourself, like bettering, you know, your life for yourself and for your family. All of these things are extremely important, and this is what art is supposed to teach us. It's our job to reflect society. It is our job to examine what's going on in our world and what is happening in the human condition, and to reflect that, and to, if things are wrong, fight for change. Speaking of change, this movie still affects people. It's 30 years old. My man, I love him. You know, Edward James Olmos. We've affected a lot of lives, and a lot of teachers have used it as a teaching tool.
From as early as I can remember, I've been someone that sets a lot of goals. I make a list. You know, I've always made a list of the things I want to do. As a kid, I would say out loud that I wanted to be a part of the movies. I wanted to make movies. I wanted to be in the movies. I knew I wanted to be around that kind of industry. I knew I wanted to be in that world. You know, so a lot of people ask me, you know, how I go about handling my lifestyle of just explosive, once-in-a-lifetime moments stacked back to back. And to be honest, I think I've always envisioned that for myself. When I go to these conventions, the last thing on my mind are questions that journalists are thinking about, which is more like contemporary questions and questions about what they're currently working on. I ask life questions. I'm always asking about life, you know, because I want to create something new with that person. You know, I want them to be able to say something that they haven't said before. I want them to talk about their feelings. I want them to hear about their emotions. I try and get the real person to speak. I really want to hear their voice. If given the opportunity to turn a camera on in front of somebody who has influence over people, to ask them about their feelings and ask them about their emotions. You know, I think that's how you utilize and capitalize on those type of opportunities. You know, you ask good questions, and you know, this is my way of expressing myself. You know, I love asking questions. When I was younger in school, kids would call me stupid for asking so many questions. They'd be like, "Are you stupid or something?" I got stuck in my head, like, you know, it's imprinted in my mind. You know, feeling stupid because I asked so many questions. Now I make a living, and I make a name for myself asking questions. You know, it's given me a purpose in life. You know, wasn't born a skeptic. You know, I wasn't born someone that just questions everything. You know, I have a lot of questions because I'm naturally curious. You know, you can't just tell me that's how things are. You know, I'm always asking questions, and you know, being curious has been really healthy for me. You know, so questions is how I express myself. Making videos and working on images is how I express myself, and you know, I'm glad life has revealed that to me. Can you talk to me a little about your earliest experiences with expressing yourself as an artist, as a human being?
Well, I used to sing in church from about 7 or 8. and then just school plays and things, you know. I was sure about it by the time I was 14. I do believe it to be an art form, and as such, something that can help a person reflect on their own lives.
There's like a meme online that says, and when you see your...
Can you tell me what a meme is? I don't know what it is.
A meme is an image that people use and they create their own captions for.
Okay.
And certain captions are all over the internet.
What is the meme from Home Alone 2?
Well, it's a picture of you when you see Tim Curry. You know, what's the first movie that comes to your mind? And then when you look at the answers, there's like dozens of answers. There's so many different answers. There's so many people have different relationships with different stories that you've been a part of.
I feel very, very lucky that I've been able to have so much fun all over the world.
Do you have any fears as a human being? Do you have any things that that scared you?
Memes.
Yeah, that was good.